Hello everyone! Welcome to this new lesson in the CSS Animations course. In this lesson, we're going to create this nice preloader. You can see we have 4 squares, all of them are rotated by 45 degrees, and they have this effect. They're moving away from each other, all rotating 90 degrees as a single unit, then come back together. And this will happen over and over. This is a nice animation and it's easy to do. A basic summary of what we'll do is we'll create a container div that holds all 4 squares inside it. Then we will change the position values for each square to make the 4 squares cover the outer div and take up all the available space. Then we will rotate the outer div, which will rotate all 4 squares with it. And after that, we will create our first animation in which we will change the height and width of the container div, which will make the 4 inner squares move away from each other and then come back toward each other. And finally, we will create our second animation that will rotate the 4 squares themselves. Got it? So let's see how we can create that. Maybe it sounded like a lot, but I promise it will be very easy once we start doing it. First, I will start here in my HTML by adding our div and giving it a class of container. Then I will add 4 spans inside it, and those will be the 4 squares inside the container div. After that, I will go to my CSS to add some styles. I will start by targeting the div with the class of container. Then inside that, I will add width, 100 pixels, height, 100 pixels. And we will add a temporary background color of red. And then I will finally add position, relative. So now you can see we just have a red square with the width and height of 100 pixels. Moving ahead, we will now work on the 4 spans inside the container div. Let's first add some general styles to all of them. I will target the span, and I will add position, absolute, width, 50 pixels, height, 50 pixels. You can see nothing's changed because we didn't add any background color. So let's target each span individually to do that. I will go right here and say span, nth child. And I will target the first one. Then I will add top, 0, left, 0 as well. So the span will be in the top left corner of the container. Then below that, I will add background color, this nice yellow color. So now you can see the first square sits on top of the red container with the width and a height of 50 pixels, which is half of the container width and height, and it's in the top left corner since we set left and top to 0. We will do the same for all 3 of the other squares, and we will position them in a way that will make them completely cover the red container. So we will position the next one next to this yellow square, and the remaining 2 will be positioned below them. All right, I will go back into my CSS to target the second square. So I will say span, nth child, 2. And I will add top, 0, and right, 0. Then background color, this green color. So now you can see we have the green square sitting next to the yellow one since we set its right property to 0. Awesome! Now let's work on the other 2 squares. I will go back to my CSS and copy this block of code, paste it again 2 times, and I will target the third span and change top here to bottom. This will position it on the left side of the container, below the first square. I will also change its background color to this nice reddish color. Then I will target the fourth span and change top to bottom and left to right, so it will be positioned on the bottom right corner of the container below the green background. Then I will add color, this blue color. Alright, so now you can see we have the 4 squares, and they are completely covering the red container. Now, let's start working on animating the container. We will animate its width and height to make it bigger, then smaller again. I will go right here and create a new animation. And I will just name it Animate. Then inside it, at 0% of the animation duration, I will say width, 100 pixels, and height, 100 pixels as well. So the container will start at its original size. Then I will copy that, paste it, and at 10% of the animation duration, I will leave the values of the width and height as they are, which is 100 pixels. This way, from the beginning of the animation until 10% of the animation duration, the container will stay at its original size before getting bigger. Then, below that, I will paste this again. And at 50% of the animation duration, I will now make the container square bigger. I will change the width to 150 pixels instead of 100, and then the height to 150 pixels as well. Then paste again, and at 90%, I will make the width and the height 100 pixels. Then finally, at 100%, I will also leave the width and height as 100 pixels. So basically, the change in size will occur from 10% to 90% of the animation duration. It will get bigger, then go back to its original size. So let's add this animation to the red container. I will go up here inside the container selector, and I will add Animation, Animate, 1 second, Linear, and Infinite. So now, when I go and reload the browser, you can see the red container gets bigger and separates the 4 inner squares from each other, then gets smaller again and returns to its original size. Cool, but we're not done yet. We want to rotate the red square by 45 degrees. So I will go back right here inside the container selector, and I will add Transform, Rotate, 45 degrees. So now you can see the container rotates by 45 degrees, and all 4 of the squares rotate with it because they're inside it. We don't need this red background anymore, so I will go back here and remove it. Awesome! Now we only have one thing left, which is rotating the squares while they're moving away from each other. This will be easy to do, so let's create the animation responsible for that. I will go right here and create a new animation, and I will name it Rotate. Then I will copy all the stages from the first animation and paste it inside the Rotate animation. And at 0%, I will remove that and add Transform, Rotate, 0 degrees. Then at 10%, it will be 0 degrees again. And at 50%, I will change it to 90 degrees so that each square will be rotated by 90 degrees. Then at 90 and 100%, I will leave it rotated by 90 degrees again. I don't want it to rotate back. I just want it to stay rotated by 90 degrees. Cool! Let's add this animation to our squares. I will go up here inside the span selector and add Animation, Rotate, 1 second, Linear, and Infinite. Awesome! So now you can see the 4 squares rotate by 90 degrees while they're far apart from each other, then go back toward each other, completing our cool little effect.